Okay, so I'm Hannah, and our topic today is tenure policy. Our proposition is that the U.S. should abandon the use of tenure for K-12 teachers. So I'm going to start out by telling you the definition of what tenure is, how it started out. It was first enacted in the 19th century, and it mirrors that of the labor unions that were fighting for better working conditions. They sought to protect, or teachers sought protection from meddling parents and administrators, so that's why they had it. The NEA, the National Education Association, which is now one of the most powerful unions in the U.S., were coordinating efforts and conferences in support of the tenure law, and then in 1909, that's when it was passed. So according to an article from Newsweek, in most states, after 2 or 3 years, teachers are given lifetime tenure. I'm going to start out by saying teacher tenure has made it hard to fire a teacher of bad quality. Firing teachers is almost impossible. According to an article from MSNBC, an English teacher in his Long Island district remains on the payroll, earning an annual salary of $113,559, even after pleading guilty earlier this month to drunken driving charges, which is her 5th DWI arrest in 7 years. The teacher will remain on paid leave at least until a disciplinary hearing in August, and it will be up to an impartial arbitrator to decide whether she needs to be fired as she faces a likely prison sentence. So this case illustrates a nagging problem in school districts in New York and elsewhere around the country, firing bad teachers. It is also part of the ongoing debate over education reform and the role of tenure in the legal process. So clearly from this quote you can see it's really hard to fire any type of teacher, especially when they've done something bad. We want to get rid of them. And the one thing I noticed about this quote is it's up to an impartial arbitrator. So it's not even up to the schools or the parents about whether or not the teacher is going to be fired. And another article from Newsweek says only 28.5% of 11th graders met or exceeded expectations on that state's standardized test. Only 0.1% of teachers were dismissed for performance-related reasons between 2005 and 2008. So teachers are clearly not being held accountable, which leads me to my next point, that the current tenure system limits equal opportunity of education for the students in the U.S. According to the Miami Herald, Eric Hanishek, a senior fellow at the Hoover Institution, the think tank at Stanford University, has carried out an extensive research on the impacts of bad teaching. His conclusion: a year spent in the classroom with a lousy teacher costs a kid about 3 months of his education. When that happens early in a child's schooling, the damage multiplies and he may never catch up. So that's why we need to get rid of tenure. Okay, next, teachers' unions' relationship with government prevent change in tenure policy. And this is a quote from an article that's The Hidden Cost of Tenure. And it says, teachers' unions have effectively blocked efforts to make it easier to fire teachers. They have done this through legislative lobbying, campaign contributions, collective bargaining agreements, and vigorous legal defenses of teachers facing dismissals. I have a few other quotes. The article from Newsweek, the teachers' unions, the National Education Association, which is the one I mentioned before, has 3.2 million members, and the American Federation of Teachers has 1.4 million members, major players in the Democratic Party at the national and local levels. So they have a lot of influence in government, and this makes it hard to get rid of failing teachers as they have a lot of influence on the administration of the schools. Since unions have so much power over tenure policy, teachers are not evaluated. So according to USA Today, teachers are generally observed in class 1 or 2 times a year by busy administrators. In many districts, tenure teachers aren't observed annually. Even when they occur, teachers say that their evaluations are rarely rigorous. So even the teachers are saying that they're not really getting evaluated effectively. So unions' relationship with government at a state and local level dictates the leniency of teacher evaluations. So this prevents any significant change in tenure policy. And now a solution to this problem has been, actually we've already started doing it, so that is charter schools. A system devoid of teacher tenure policy will improve the quality of education. So I'll give you just a definition of charter schools. They're public schools that operate with a great deal of autonomy, free from any regulations of traditional public schools, and they generally do not support teacher tenure. And they're normally pretty successful, and they focus a lot on teacher accountability. So according to Newsweek, it is difficult to dislodge the educational establishment. In New Orleans, a hurricane was required. Since Katrina, New Orleans has made more educational progress than any other city, largely because the public school system has been wiped out. Using non-union charter schools, New Orleans has been able to measure teacher performance in ways that teachers' unions have long and bitterly resisted. Under new Louisiana law, New Orleans can track which ed schools produce the best teachers, foreseeing long-needed changes in ed school curricula. So because of the teacher accountability at these charter schools and the evaluations that they're getting, they're progressing. And another type of charter schools that we encounter in the U.S. is KIPP, and that's Knowledge is Power program. So generally operating outside of school bureaucracies as charter schools, like programs like KIPP, have produced inner-city schools with high graduation rates, 85%. And they tend to really pick the teachers that they have at these schools, like they have a lot of evaluation for them. So charter schools and programs like KIPP are small-scale models of what our education system lacks. And by introducing learning environments free of teacher tenure policy, we will be able to employ proficient teachers nationally. And this change will ultimately benefit the quality of education in the U.S.
You guys are going to want peer evaluation forms. They're up there.